Seval, Kenny Soimbi, Christopher Odori, and Va Suwari. Let's give them a big hand. And I'd like to introduce to you, of course, our adjudicators, Mrs. Magalu. Thank you for joining us again in this round, Management and Business Communications. That's what she specializes in, and she lectures at the Port Moresby Business College. She's also taught at Port Moresby Grammar and IEA College of TAFE in Port Moresby, and she runs her own training consultancy. And Mr. John Iko is the MD for BizTech, and he's one of the pioneer judges and strong believer of the debating concept. So it's good to see him here. Also, Dr. Mark Solon, Dean of Institutional Development at the IBS, and Dr. Patricia Paradi. She's a qualified secondary language specialist, and she works in course development for distance education courses, and also at the CADAD, that's Curriculum Development for Elementary, Primary, and Secondary. Please make our judges welcome. And I'd like to once again ask our participants, as good sportsmen, to shake hands before they go on to the challenge and take their positions. Well, this is going to be a very interesting one. The topic for debate today is the LNG project has more negative effects for PNG. The LNG project has more negative effects for PNG. Please make welcome the first speaker from the affirmative team from St. Charles Luwanga School, Macy Malala.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, adjudicators, timekeepers, the opposing team, and the wonderful audience. I am Macy Malala. As the first speaker of the affirmative team, will briefly define a topic and place my arguments on the social aspects of LNG in Papua New Guinea. Our second speaker, Emmanuel Kavanagh, will be elaborating on the environmental effects of LNG in PNG. Our third speaker, Wali Alma, will be stressing on the economical effects, and our fourth and final speaker, Golaba Gonapa, will be summarizing the group's arguments. Firstly, as we all know, LNG simply means liquefied natural gas. Now, ExxonMobil PNG liquefied natural gas project will develop natural gas resources in the Southern Highlands and Western provinces and export that gas in a liquid form from new facilities in the Central Province near Port Moresby. Before I go on to my point, let's just consider our past. About 60 years ago, once hidden fortunes of gold, silver, copper, nickel, and oil were discovered in PNG. Today, Porgera, Oktedi, and other mines are familiar names to us. All these ventures promised to bring development and prosperity to our country. But have these promises been kept? Or are these resources and amazing opportunities they present are being squandered? Take Oktedi, for instance. When it started, it had all the glamorous attractions like any other mining project, including LNG. For over more than 30 years of existence, what has Oktedi contributed to the Western Province? Very poorly run hospitals and schools, and of course, a highly polluted fly river. Therefore, we, the government, strongly believe that LNG project has many negative effects for Papua New Guinea. Now to my points. I'll be basing my points on a three-point perspective, which are money, conflict of interest, and social catastrophes. Firstly, money. When there is a lot of money given to individuals, then people become lazy, especially young people who are going to be the human resource of this nation. You may be wondering how. Well, because by then, people will be living a wealthy life. When the PNG LNG project kicks off, thus, they will totally forget about agricultural activities. To come to think of it, in reality, LNG project will not last in PNG. It has a duration period of 30 years. After its duration period is over, it will leave with all the riches and wealth gained from our country. For example, if we look at Nauru, look at the tiny Pacific island of Nauru, once one of the wealthiest because of its phosphate mine, but now it has become an empty basket. At the same time, because of money, some people will be displaced as project infrastructure is developed. Once the cash payment is done, perhaps wasted, they will realize too late that their land and livelihood is lost forever. This will lead to cultural and identity loss. Traditional values and Christian faith are already under attack in Papua New Guinea because of materialism and hunger for money. Now on to my second point, conflict of interest. We have already seen outbreaks of violence over land ownership issues and drunken chaos after payments of cash were distributed to people unaccustomed to such unexpected wealth. However, most ordinary people haven't benefited much at all from the mineral wealth of our nation. Is that true? Have all of you benefited from the mineral wealth of our nation? Definitely no. Now, according to Post Courier dated Wednesday, 18th May 2011, page 12, the government's decision that was released in the media regarding landowner benefits being diverted to projects rather than cash payments have raised resentment by landowner groups. Conflicts is not new amongst PNG tribes. The project will definitely increase the risk of more violence among local communities and the foreign oil giant. The same scenario came about as reported by the AAP that a skirmish broke out between a gang of villagers from Erava district and a neighboring clan. 11 people were fatally shot as a result of the land disputes over the profit from the PNG LNG project. Now on to my third point, social catastrophes. Families are likely to suffer. This happens when the breadwinner or the head of the family, the father, who leaves his family in search of a job with the project because of the highly earned wages, he would definitely get involved in moral activities. Thus, his poor family becomes the victim of this cast LNG. PNG is already experiencing some of the aforementioned negative social economic effects, like shortage of teachers, some having been wooed into the resource sector by better wages. Therefore, we, the government, strongly feel that LNG project in Papua New Guinea has many negative effects. Thank you.
Oh, the LNG project has more negative effects for PNG. Let's hear what the opposing team has to say about this topic. Please make welcome from Mount Diamond Secondary, Ruthie Seval.
The panel of judges, members of the affirmative side, and audience. We, the Mount Diamond team, have been given the honor of speaking against our topic that LNG has more negative impacts for Papua New Guinea. In other words, we are saying that LNG can bring a number of benefits, both direct and indirect, to Papua New Guinea. Right from the start, it is our desire that you all understand fully what our lines of contentions are, because they are twofold, and they are, yes, LNG project has negative effects, but the positive effects outweigh the negatives. Please note that we are saying outweigh and not outnumber. Secondly, yes, there are going to be negative effects, but we as a nation can plan for and manage them in order to minimize, therefore we get maximum benefits. It will also give the country PNG the opportunity to be competent in the world stage in managing big projects including LNG. I will be introducing the topic by giving an overview of our ideas. The second speaker will speak on the LNG providing job and business opportunities. The third speaker will look at the development infrastructures possible through the LNG project. And the final speaker will talk on the economic growth and related benefits of LNG, summarize our ideas and make recommendations, particularly to the government side, so that they won't be paying too much attention on the negatives. Ladies and gentlemen, we are of the view that when you look at for the negative side of the things, you will certainly see the negatives simply because of those are what you are looking for in the first place. You will tend to overlook the positives, resulting in you missing them altogether. Audience, the benefits of LNG project that we are going to talk about are given in an overview that appeared as extracts from the exclusive summary on the LNG Economic Impact Study, page 7 of the booklet titled LNG PNG's Future, and I quote, The project has the potential to transform the economy of Papua New Guinea, boosting GDP and export earnings, providing a major increase in government revenue, royalty payments to the landowners, creating employment opportunities during construction and operation, and providing a catalyst to further gas-based industry development. Landowners stand to benefit from direct payments of benefits from the direct payments of royalties on productions of gas and associated petroleum production, as well as improved social and economic infrastructure. Before I take my seat, I would like to rebut on what the first speaker of the affirmative side mentioned, some of the points that she have mentioned. We have roads and buildings, wage indexation, money for the other non-mining sectors will gradually increase in percentage over the lifespan of the mine. We are going to school now. Cost of government schools which are funded by that revenue. Thank you.
Let's give her another big hand. Thank you very much. Ruthie Seval, the first speaker from the opposition team, Mount Diamond Secondary. Once again, the topic, the LNG project has more negative effects for PNG. From the affirmative team, please make welcome Emmanuel Kavanagh. Emmanuel.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good day, judges, timekeeper, opposition team, and you lovely, adorable audience. Okay, I, as the second speaker of the affirmative team, will be emphasizing on the topic from the environmental perspective. But as usual, before I go on, I have to rebut. Now, I would like to rebut on what the first speaker of the negative team has stated. You said that we can manage, but historically, we are known for corruption and mismanagement. How sure are you that we are going to manage this multi-billion project? If you can currently see up at Tari, there is no electricity, no market, no sealing of roads, potholes, they're like ditches. Can you call this management? This clearly shows that Papua New Guinea government is not managing well. Now, with further ado, to my points. I will be emphasizing on the environmental perspective, how LNG has a negative impact on the environment. Now, LNG, of course, without doubt, is a blessing. We all know that, right? We will surely enjoy the benefits, but be cautious, Papua New Guineans, because these benefits will one day go, okay? You know, this LNG, liquefied natural gas, it's a non-renewable resource. Social science, it will never be renewable, so it will go. Now, when it goes, it leaves you with nothing. Especially, it will impact it will impact the natural environment. Now, the LNG, the LNG commences in 2014. These are the effects that it's going to have on the forestry of our nation. A huge amount of our rich tropical rainforest will be cleared for infrastructural and transportation of gas. 1,055 hectares of primary tropical forest will be cleared, and an estimated 86% of primary tropical forest losses. Let me ask you a question here. Do you think the conservation of forest is important for the Earth's survival? Well, then you're on the right track. Now, moving on to the marine life, what the negative effects of LNG can have on marine life. Now, with the distance of pipeline, which is more than 700 kilometers, hydraulic fracturing is most likely to occur, thus resulting in the contamination of the sea and the destruction of marine life. It also has direct and indirect effects on marine life, increased sedimentation rates and toxicating threats, impacts to threatened species, and accidental spillage. Now, to air, how LNG will have a negative impact in Papua New Guinea's atmosphere, also globally. Now, LNG uses gas as a source of power in the liquefaction process, which results in greenhouse gas emissions. The project is estimated to emit 3.1 tons of carbon dioxide every year in direct emissions. Imagine that. That's a lot. Now, if PNG is part of the carbon trade, why are we contributing to the release of carbon emissions into the environment through LNG? This will increase global warming. And very soon, in the next 50 or 60 years, the whole earth will sink. Now, in addition to this, natural gas power plants are significant air pollution sources, releasing hazardous air pollutants and fire particulate matter. Take, for example, methane, which is produced in that way by the natural gas when it is cooled and later regasified, is 21 times more powerful at warming the atmosphere than carbon dioxide by height. LNG has 35% high life cycle greenhouse gas emissions than coal, 35%, and that's not good for the environment. Now, in PNG, we all know that the bond between the people and the land is very strong. So actually, land is like your identity, you know? And when you destroy the land, it's kind of like you're destroying the identity of a particular person. Now, to sum up my points, the PNG LNG project is a good thing, but will have a long-term effect on the natural environment. And when it has it on the natural environment, you cannot get it back. You're not God, okay? You're just human beings. You affect the environment, how will you bring it back? Okay? Now, therefore, we, the proactive government of today, without doubt, say that LNG has many negative effects, mainly on environment, natural environment. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Emmanuel Kavanagh. Here's someone who wants to become a petroleum engineer one day, and I guess he has something to say about the project itself. From the opposing team, please make welcome Kenny Soimbi to talk about the LNG project has more negative effects for PNG. And I think he's on the lucky side.
Thank you, MC. Good morning, judges, audiences, and the members of the affirmative side. Before I present my argument, I would like to rebut on what the second speaker of the affirmative side has mentioned. He mentioned that the LNG project will have a negative impact on the environment. Well, that's true. But if you have not known, the PNG LNG developers submitted its environmental impact statement to the PNG Department of Environment and Conservation on the 23rd of January 2009, according to the website www.pnglng.com. So the government and project developers will introduce mitigation measures to minimize the negative impacts. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot stop these negative impacts. Well, that is true. But we can plan to minimize these negative impacts. Now to my points. Judges and audience, my first point is that PNG LNG project will bring better job and business opportunities for Papua New Guineans. According to the website www.pnglng.com, in the article titled Long-Term Benefits of the PNG LNG Project, states that during the initial construction phase, labor requirements will be substantial, and we are seeing that right now in the number of people employed by the LNG project, with the employment estimated at 12,000 to 15,000 full-time positions, about 30% which will be filled by Papua New Guineans. And most importantly, there will be long-term employment for about 1,250 personnel, mostly Papua New Guineans. When production commences, we can say that mostly the expatriates will be from foreigners. But the point is that Papua New Guineans will be employed. These full-time positions would not be possible if there were no LNG. The government, through the Office of Higher Education, has even planned for that by providing scholarship for students to go and get further training in Australian TAFE colleges, ensuring that skilled workforce is in place to meet the construction and drilling needs. At the same time, developing the long-term workforce in time for production operations. As a matter of fact, the first lot of the students on this scholarship scheme are in Australia right now, and will be returning in July of this year, and then the second lot will take their place. Judges and audience, are you aware that there is an LNG training college within the perimeters of Port Moresby Technical College, purposely built to train the future employees of the LNG project? I want to quote directly from the website www.pnglng.com on the article Business Opportunities in LNG. It states that, and I quote, where supplies exist within PNG, contractors will be encouraged to produce goods and services locally. Landowner companies will get priority for the supply of various support, which include services such as camp maintenance, vehicle hire, catering, and labor. In addition to this, other suppliers would provide specialist services for the project, unquote. According to the LNL Paper 1 Resource Booklet 2010, in the article titled LNG Economic Impact Study, states that, and I quote, one of the significant impacts of the project will be the opportunities for local businesses. These opportunities include outsourcing of services such as catering, engineering, security, fuel supply, managerial, and technical assistance, unquote. Judges and audience, we are planning for jobs and skill training and also business opportunities for LNG, and it has already started. Isn't that a benefit that outweighs the negative impacts of LNG? That is why we, the opposing team, firmly believe that LNG will not have more negative impacts for Papua New Guinea. Thank you.
I think when the next LNG recruitment comes, I think he'll be already having a job, and that's in 10 to 12 years' time. Well, good on you, Kenny Soimbi. Now, let's hear from the affirmative team, St. Charles Luwanga High School. Please make welcome Wally Aumau. Okay, Giant.
Thank you, Chairperson, judges, timekeeper, my fellow debaters, and you, the attentive audience. Now, before I go into my points, I would like to make a quick rebuttal on what the second speaker of the opposition team has said. He stated that the economy of our country will boost, and that is true, and I cannot deny that. And he also stated that the rate of employment will rise. Well, according to Social Impact Assessment Report 2010, 80% of the construction workers are expatriates, and that leaves 20% for PNG. And when we compare that, it is like drinking a cup of coffee without sugar. Is that right? Now to my points. Furthermore, the director of PNG Institute of National Affairs, in an interview with ABC News in December 2009, stated that, and I quote, there is an increase in employment in the first few years of construction, but, I repeat, but when the project comes to production stage, after the construction stage, the employment opportunity will diminish down. Unquote, he said, could go low as 500 people, operations in total, and that is very low. Now, we can say that LNG can boost our economy, but when we clearly see a coin, it has a head and it has a tail. We may blindly only see the head, but we do not know what is behind the head, which is the tail. So if you do not know, now I'm going to teach you. My second point is handicaps in banks. PNG banking system can handle only up to 20 billion US dollars and cannot logically handle billions of US dollars in PNG LNG project funds. This is according to an advisor to the gas coordinator office in an article published in the national newspaper in mid-2010. PNG petroleum industry generates around 20 to 25 billion US dollars. If that amount is brought into the country, it will definitely, number one, handicap our banking system, because I've already said that our banks can only have a maximum of $20 billion. Number two, if it was brought offshore, the exchange rate will rise. And number three, it will trigger the inflation and interest rates to rise. Now, according to Jubilee Australia, an anti-poverty NGO based in Sydney, in March this year, stated that, number one, locals have reported feeling the effect of inflation on PNG economy. Number two, with recent prices of basic goods and services rising rapidly, which can be seen from the classic headlines of the past few months, where we had doctors, nurses, teachers, and public servants demanding increase in salaries due to inflation. Now, inflation is the high rise of goods and services. Now, formerly I'm a resident of Geru, and when I try to go to 4 Mile, I pay Titoya. But now, because of this LNG, and because of the price rise, and because of the inflation, the 80 bus fares increased to 1 kina. Now, to my third point, loan. PNG government equity participation was 19% in the LNG project. Only 90% out of the 100%. PNG only contributed 19% to the contribution to the LNG. Okay, this implies a funding requirement of 1.57 billion US dollars for the cost of the project. Now, the government contribution is funded through a combination of, number one, 30% equity and 70% from debt. The risky development report by Jubilee Australia indicates that PNG is repaying the debt for a period of 15 years for an 8% interest rate, therefore resulting in repayments of principal and interest totaling to 204 million US dollars per year. Now, apart from all other sources of PNG's national budget, income tax and general sales tax plays a vital role in the economic development of a nation. Now, Parliament has accepted the LNG tax from paying taxes. So, the current government, through the LNG, is giving away the nation's resources to foreigners in a golden plate, which is jeopardizing the future of PNG. Therefore, it can be seen that the LNG has a lot of negative economic consequences for PNG. Therefore, we, the affirmative team, strongly, firmly, and steadfastly believe that LNG has a lot of negative effects for PNG. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wally. Aomao. Now, let's hear what the opposing team has to say about the topic. From Team Mount Diamond Secondary, please make welcome Christopher Ottery.
Thank you, Mr. MC, the panel of judges, the in-house audience, and as well as those who are watching about our great nation. Okay, before I proceed on further, I'd like to rebut on what the third speaker of the government side has stated. Actually, it's a rebut and correction. Okay, he stated that the LNG project was given away on a golden plate. Okay, who guarantees us that LNG project was given away on a golden plate? It was the considerations were taken in place, and then they saw that the positive they outweigh the negative. That's why the bill was passed that LNG project would come into PNG. Okay, now I'd like to rebut on another point that which he stated, and he said expatriates would come in. Of course, yeah, they would come in. But we must know that when expatriates come in, they come in contract basis. And once their contract basis is expired, then they would be deported from this country. And you see, we have this, there are others who have been trained in this, especially LNG colleges, especially made for them. And those are the people who are going to take up the places of the expatriates once they are deported from this country, when their license expires to work in this country. Okay, now to my point. I'll be talking about the infrastructure development as a benefit, the possible benefit of infrastructure development as a result of LNG project. Okay, well, it's obvious that Papua New Guinea, the most remote places, they're least developed. Okay, you see, least developed places in our country are the most remote areas. These remote areas where gas fields and mines are located are no exceptions. These remote areas are inaccessible by roads, let alone bridges and buildings in the gas field site. Infrastructure that are built to cater for the needs of the employers will also be available for the landowners to have access to and use. For instance, and for example, roads, hospitals, and bridges. According to the website www.pnglng.com, it states under the community investment program, the strategic community investment are those investment in health, education, and agriculture not owned by the PNG, LNG, or affiliate operations. This investment benefits the community in which we operate as such from part of the development plan of the project. The PNG LNG project will be developing an action plan that focuses on health, education, agriculture, and project will be designed for stability and building community capacity in the project impact areas. Okay, now you see that we are saying that like this type of thing, this development, infrastructure development, they will, okay, in the places where these mine sites and gas fields are. Okay, now you see, I'll bring you to this point here. It says that yes, this will be a direct benefit to the immediate landowners, but let me tell you, the money from the LNG will circulate in the government budget and will go into the District Service Improvement Program known as DSIP through the District Treasury Rollout Program already existing in each sub-district of all provinces in our country. As a result, everybody will benefit from the LNG project. We realized that from a quote from one of the ExxonMobil Vice President of Global Proclamation, Jean Baptiste Nadia, quoted that, and I quote, "We realized that one of the most important contribution we make to the countries where we operate is supporting economic growth and improving the quality of life." I rephrase, improving the quality of life, unquote. Okay, the effects will be directed to ensuring coordination of government, NGOs, and existing oil project funded programs to ensure that various initiatives are complementary in line with stated government development priorities and lead to longer-term sustainability of project area social services. In addition, there will be a number of investments made by project in upgrading infrastructure in PNG, which will be developed in more detail following community consultation. Therefore, we, the opposition team, believe and firmly stand that the positive effect outweighs the negative effect of LNG project for Papua New Guinea. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christopher. And Christopher is happy it's over for him. All right, now we've come to the last two speakers, and these two speakers will be debating, have about 10 minutes to argue their points. And of course, the topic is the LNG project has more negative effects for Papua New Guinea. Here's one person who's going to be an engineer one day, and I guess he has, some solutions or answers to the topic. I'd like to make welcome Golaba Gonapa, the final speaker for St. Charles, Luwanga.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony. Good morning, educators, fellow debaters, and you, the electrifying future leaders of this nation. I, as the fourth speaker of the affirmative team, I will be summarizing what my team has mentioned. But before I do that, I would like to rebut on what some of the things that the negative side have mentioned. First, they've mentioned something about landowners benefiting from the project. Okay, I have some statistics here to share with you guys. Okay, they said landowners benefit from the project, direct payments mentioned from the first speaker. Okay, actually, only 3% is given to the landowners, 19% to the government, and 78% to the company in charge, which is then taken out of our country. Also, they stated that benefits for the rural project areas. Okay, for one final example would be Octeri Mine. For how many years it has been there, the people there of Western Province haven't even seen any development in the area. Even people in the Southern Islands have even seen development in the area. How many years it was there, it didn't even bring any development there. You go there, even though they are the two most richest provinces in this country, they are still lacking in development. Now it comes back to the government. Now it comes back to the government. What are plans without action? Now to my points. First, social. With the wealth PNG LNG generates, the government has put in place the Vision 2050. It's a guideline to guide the LNG project into success. Okay. It is assumed that everyone will participate. Everyone, meaning informal sector, both the informal and the formal sector, everyone will participate. Okay. However, wealth that comes from the PNG LNG and other projects will not by itself bring the dream to reality. If the culture of corruption, which is embedded everywhere in governments and societies, is not eradicated, and a new culture of honesty, service, transparency, accountability doesn't replace it, the dream will always remain a dream. Therefore, the government and the developers should consider the people's welfare more important than the hunger for economical growth. Take, for instance, the Bougainville's Panguna mine, which had to be shut down because of dissatisfaction by landowners who felt they weren't benefiting from the mine's revenue. This led to the Bougainville crisis, which resulted in brutal killing and bloodshed. Now tell me, audience, do you and I want to see another Bougainville in Ella province? Now to the environmental effects. The clearing of forest can seriously pose a threat, and we all know that, to the many plants and animals and species that inhabit the forest. Okay, the national habitat is destroyed, where it can result in loss of these resources. Imagine the generation to come not having the privilege to see most of the natural beauties. Imagine describing what a butterfly looks like to your daughter. Whilst we endeavor to boost our economical wealth, let's be mindful of our natural resources, and strategies must, and I repeat, must be put in place so that there is less destruction caused to the environment. Since 85% of our population live in rural areas, they depend on land to provide the necessities to sustain themselves. Let me give you some facts. The project will include a 248-kilometer pipeline which will penetrate previously undisturbed primary tropical forest with biodiversity of global significance. In that process, 2,809 hectares will be removed. Pipeline will cross 26 major water crossings, 138 minor crossings, and even pass through the Kutubu Wildlife Management Area. Can you imagine the destruction that will be done to the environment? How, this one is for you to answer, how would you feel if your homes, or if a place where you live is destroyed and taken away from you? Now to the LNG's negative effects on the economy. Everyone knows, and we all know, we all need this project, because as a developing nation, we need such projects to develop. But there are some areas in there, the negative effects in there, we have to get rid of in order for the smooth running of this project. Everyone knows and says that the LNG will bring economic boom, and that's for sure. But how the money will be used is a concern to us Papua New Guineans. This boom eventuates as a blessing only if the government and other stakeholders use the revenue wisely in a sustainable manner. In a sustainable manner will be later emphasized by me in my recommendations. Otherwise, the revenue will be a curse. If there is mismanagement, lack of transparency and accountability, PNG will be facing either a stagnant or a downturn economy despite receiving high revenue from LNG and other foreign direct investments. If used if inefficiently, that would hinder positive economical impacts. Okay, according to a fact sheet on ExxonMobil's PNG LNG project, it is said that PNG has included the participation of KBR. Okay, KBR is an engineering firm. Okay, you know what KBR did? The reputation of KBR admitted to the corruption charges in many countries. It was charged for the second highest. It was charged for the second highest level of corruption in U.S. history. That KBR, an engineering firm, which is now employed by the PNG LNG to carry on the project in our country. Now, we don't want corruption in our country. Another corruption adds up to another corruption, it becomes disaster. What guarantee, and I would like to say this clearly, what guarantee, and this is for the governments who are listening, who are watching, and the people of this nation, what guarantee does PNG have? What guarantee does the PNG government have that there will be transparency in the smooth running of this project? Now to my recommendations. One, I would like to emphasize on the sustainable manner. Some of the revenue from the LNG project must be diverted into improving infrastructure, like roads for delivery for the end results. And also, it must be invested in private and public institutions with a view on marginalized high returns. We invest highly in something. We want good expectations from them. Like a mother, if all her life she devotes to you for a child to become someone, she wants something in return. Like this, we want the project to be run smoothly in our country. To my second point, tax exemption. Tax exemption should not be allowed. The developer should be taxed accordingly. Only in certain circumstances, it should not be exempted, but reduced to a reasonable amount. To my third point, people should be empowered. People should be empowered to still live a productive life even after the extinction of these natural resources, because the liquefied natural gas that we are mining right now, it is a non-renewable resources. One day it will run out, and what is left of our people, we have to empower them to know what they will do and in order to sustain themselves after all these resources of our country, which we call a resource-rich country, is gone. To my fourth and final recommendation, landowners or hellos should save. Landowners will benefit. In PNG, we have this mentality where people don't want to save. Once they have this money, there's all these temptations coming from left, right, center, and they want to go and grab that thing. They desire the thing so much that even the millions of sums of money in their pocket, they still go and spend it. So that's why, for landowners out there, if you are listening, landowners should save. Landowners will benefit directly. They should be encouraged to save for their future. If PNG LNG developers go ahead unchecked, it is creating a recipe for disaster for our country. Therefore, we, as the proactive government side and the affirmative team, are affirmating strongly, firmly, and wholeheartedly believe that PNG LNG has a lot of negative effects on our country. Thank you for a wonderful years.
Well, the affirmative team has spoken from the St. Charles Luwanga High School. And now we'll listen to the fourth and final speaker, and this time from the opposing team from Mount Diamond Secondary. Please make welcome Vasueri.
Good morning to the adjudicators again, our opposing team, and all the audience, both live and televised. I'm going to be going to my points in a few minutes, but before I do, allow me to have the last say in some matters that were raised here today. Okay, first of all, the opposition stated that in some rural areas, we still have potholes in the road and no electricity. Well, in order to fix that, we need money. So would you rather we stay with no potholes and no electricity and no money, or else we get money and we find ways to deal with the potholes and the electricity? Secondly, you raised point on inflation. Okay, there are inbuilt stabilizers to deal with inflation. Example, increased taxes, increase in subsidies to finished products and intermediate inputs, and increase in levies and charges on imports that have inelastic demand. Therefore, we can be able to deal with deal with inflation because the government has already inbuilt stabilizers. Also, we have something about how inflation will cause shortages in other areas such as education and health, like doctors migrating off to LNG. Well, we have a thing called wage indexation. And a wage indexation is when the government increases the income of other non-mining sectors gradually over the lifespan of the mining project. Therefore, we will be able to make sure that the wages are redistributed at a normal income, and doctors and teachers and all the other people who are not involved in mines have enough money to deal with inflation. Okay, now on to my points. Oh, sorry, before I go to my points, one of the biggest points against us is management. And you quoted the Bougainville-Porgera mine. Okay, we'd just like to say that that was in the past, and definitely PNG has learned from that. For example, there was an event when some South African people came over to study the Porgera mine because they thought that PNG dealt well with that situation. Also, I'd like to quote something here. Okay, PNG LNG Economic Impact Study prepared by ExxonMobil from the website png.lng.com. It states, and I quote, "In the area of macroeconomic management, the changes include monetary and fiscal policy reform, tax reform, and financial reform. As a result of these reforms, inflation has fallen from a high of nearly 16% in 2000 to about 1.7% in 2005. Government debt as a percentage of GDP has fallen from 57% in 2000 to 32% in 2006. And government expenditure as a percentage of GDP has lagged far behind the growth in revenues. The PNG Treasury has forecast that government is therefore arguably in a better position now than in the past to ensure that the impact of the proposed LNG project in terms of real exchange rate and inflation are effectively managed so as to avoid distortions of incentive in the economy." That clearly states that the government sees that there are management issues and it's willing to deal with it. And as for corruption, corruption has always been here and it will always be here when it comes to money. Okay, now to my points. The biggest benefit we can get from the LNG project is the economic benefit. Obviously, the most noticeable one would be an increase in income or GDP as a result of LNG export. The GDP is the overall income of a nation, so therefore there will be an overall increase in the overall income of the nation because of the revenue generated by exporting liquefied natural gas. It also promotes employment in mining areas and other sectors such as health and education that will feed on or ride on this opportunity. There will be an increase in investment by other sectors as a direct result of an increase in GDP. We will also have an improvement of our balance of payments, meaning more money will be coming in than going out, which means we have a surplus balance of payment. And hence, we have improved our credit rating with the World Bank and IMF. The provincial budget and local level budget will increase to sufficiently finance the expenditure. If a point is raised that only the Southern Highlands will be profitable, then we would like to quote from Bougainville, where take reference from Bougainville, where the income that was generated by the Bougainville copper mine was distributed to other provinces through the national government budget. Therefore, income will be properly distributed so that all provincial budgets have sufficient finance for their expenditures. There will also be an increase in domestic consumption of goods and services through the multiplier effect. This means that because of the LNG project, there will be more money in people's hands and they can make more deposits in banks. And when the banks have more deposits, they'll be able to loan more money out. And therefore, people will have more money in their hands to be able to consume more at a domestic level. There will be an increase in investment by other sectors through the accelerator process. When consumer or export demand is rising strongly, business may increase investments to expand production. Increase in credit creation to the credit creation multiplier means there are more money available for loans. As I stated before, when people have more money, they deposit more, and the bank is able to provide more loans for more ordinary Papua New Guinean citizens. Also, the PNG Kina will be appreciating against the currency of trading partners. If there's an economic boom or boost, then we will be able to buy more foreign goods, and they will be cheaply distributed at a local level. Second last, we have improvement of foreign currency reserves to adequately finance imports over or for a longer period of time, which means when we have more exports, we'll be able to buy more imports over a longer period of time. And lastly, it reduces national debt borrowed from financial institutes. Okay, judges and audience, I would like us to picture a rose bush, and in this rose bush it has a beautiful red rose. We understand that the rose bush is full of thorns, but also that we need that rose. So therefore, to get to the rose, we have to navigate through the thorns, in this case, the negative effects. The roses are the benefits the country will get from the LNG, and they are transformation of PNG economy, boosting of GDP, creation of job opportunities, improved infrastructure, and improved living standards. Our recommendations are to plan for and manage the negative effects of LNG. Environmental-wise, using in-depth scientific understanding of the environmental impact of LNG, we can plan for proper management of waste product. Social issues. In social issues, we have continuous awareness of HIV and AIDS and STIs, and continue to promote the use of condoms in order to minimize spread. And how to counteract inflation. We have built-in stabilizers that the government can use. No government is existing without either fiscal or monetary policies, and I'm sure our government has this. So we can increase tax or increase subsidies to finished products and intermediate outputs such as steel, and increase in levies and charges on imports that have inelastic demand, such as alcohol and cigarettes. Therefore, we, the opposition, firmly stand against the topic LNG has more negative effects for PNG, because we have just shown that the positive outweigh the negatives. Thank you.
And that's the fourth and final speaker from the opposing team on the topic, the LNG project has more negative effects for Papua New Guinea. And while listening, it was really a little bit confusing for me. As you can see, the negative team, which is against the topic, really supports the topic, while the affirmative team really believes or was more, which believes that the LNG project has more negative effects for PNG. I was more against it. So quite a very serious debate that we have seen. I'd like you all to stand, please. From the affirmative team, St. Luwanga High School, we had Macy Malala, Emmanuel Kevena, Wale Aumau, and Golaba Gonapa. Please give them a big hand. And from the opposition team, from Mount Diamond Secondary, Ruthie Seval, Kenny Soimbi, Christopher Audrey, and Va Suwari. Please give them a big hand. Wow, now it's over and done with pretty big, tough decisions for our adjudicating team. And we'd like to once again thank our adjudicating team very much. That's Mrs. Magalu, Mr. John Iko, Dr. Mark Solon, and Dr. Patricia Paride. Please give them a big hand. And to our supporting partners making this program possible, to NBC Kundutu and the official flag carrier in New Guinea, and our major sponsors, the National Capital District Commission, the National Gaming Control Board, Papua New Guinea Electoral Commission, Office of the Climate Change, NES Fund, Ipatas Foundation, Brian Bell, and LNA Group of Companies. Please give a big hand to our supporters. And that's the second challenge of the two schools that have made it into the elimination round. Out of this, we'll find out whether they will advance into the semis.